about how this started. So a couple of months ago, well, in April, we are in June. So yes, just about second week in April, I was at the gym and then I injured my back. Seriously, I've never had back pain before in my almost half a decade of life, but I injured my back seriously. And I must tell you, for those of you who've had back pain before, it was the most painful thing I'd ever experienced. And so, after sleepless nights, MRIs, and things, epidurals, my spinal surgeon said I should start physio. So I started physiotherapy. And I think the worst part of having this pain, apart from the pain, was the fact that I couldn't do a lot of the things I was used to. I was out of the gym for like a month. I couldn't do all the things that I loved, hopping around, dancing, and things like that. But my physiotherapist that I'm going to introduce very soon, Samuel, invited me to a talk he did for one of his church groups. He was invited to give a talk, and I benefited so much. And I thought I need to share this with my friends, share this with the parents in our community because back pain is very common, very common. So let me introduce Samuel to you before he takes the lead. So Samuel Kweku VA02 is the CEO and lead physiotherapist at the Physio Specialist Clinic that is located at Abelempe. He's a graduate of the University of Ghana and the University of Nottingham, UK, and he's also the former president of the Ghana Physiotherapy Association. Samuel is also the founder of the NGO named Prevention Over Incision. This NGO teaches simple daily habits to prevent spinal conditions and avoid unnecessary surgeries. If there are some surgeons on the line now, they may. He's facilitated countless workshops and corporate health talks, helping people move better and live healthier. So, without much ado, Samuel is online now. Samuel, we have about 66 people and counting. And once we get to 100, we are also live. So it will be on our YouTube page so people can listen even though they cannot join. So you are very welcome and your
Thank you
audience.
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Mabel Wilson. Thank you for having me, and let me say good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining this presentation. It's an honor to be here. I know these are regular meetings you do. Let me say a big congrats to you and your team, Dr. Mabel Wilson, for the great work you are doing when it comes to public education. I think it's very important. So once again, thank you for having me. So I'm going to move on from here. So this is the NGO that Dr. Mabos spoke about, prevention of incision, and this one of the things that we do to really educate the public and make sure things are very clear when it comes to spinal health and back pain. Later we'll talk about this group. Our topic for this evening is your spine, back pain, and postures. And what we really seek to do is to understand what really is that about. When we talk about your spine, what really are we talking about? And what would cause back pain? And is there anything at all we can do about it? Is there anything we need to think about when we're exercising and stuff like that? I'm sure that after the presentation, if there are any more, if there are questions or any more areas that needs clarification, I'll be glad to do so. I'm going to start by talking about three very important statements, which will form the foundation of what we are going to talk about. So the first one is that the human body is naturally symmetrical and must be kept that way for optimal function. So most things in the body are bilateral. We have two ears, two eyes, two arms, two legs. Now, when you go into the muscles as well, most muscles are bilateral. We have one on the left, one on the right. even when you look at the back. Now, the body wants you to keep a fair balance. Anytime you do things to favor one side of the body, it becomes a problem. All right. And I'm sure we'll talk about this some more later on. The second statement is that the body adapts to whatever you consistently do. And I'm saying here for better or worse. So whether you're doing a good thing consistently or you're doing a bad thing consistently. Yeah. Whether you're
Sorry,
doing,
let me see. Okay, please
yeah.
continue. We shall mute that person.
Great, thank you. So whether you're doing a good thing or a bad thing, once you're consistent, the body acclimatizes to it. So for example, when you decide one day that I'm going to keep my elbow flex, my right elbow flex in front of my body, I'm going to keep it like that for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Consistently, I'm going to keep my elbow flexed in front of me. Now, most likely at the end of the second or the third week, when you decide, okay, now I'm going to change and I'll come back, straighten it, things won't be the same again because you have been consistent and the brain has picked that up and said, okay, this is the new normal. And that's one thing about the human body that we need to know. The third statement is that back pain, whether upper back pain, mid back pain, lower back pain, has many causes. So many things can cause back pain, including certain forms of infections, UTIs and stuff like that. But one of the commonest risk factors is poor posture. And the interesting thing is that this is a risk factor that we can easily do things about or we can easily work on. And that is why we are having this presentation. Yeah. All right. Now, I want us to look at the human back. What really is there? When we talk about the spine, what are we talking about? Now, when we look at a human back, obviously we know that our brain is up there. The brain is a very delicate structure, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful organ in the body. And so God in his wisdom kept it in a very protective case called the skull, all right? So the skull is there. Now, when you look at the brain, it ends up in what we call the spinal cord, which is also a very sensitive structure. So when you look at this picture, at the top here, you can see a yellowish substance in the middle there. That is the spinal cord. Now, right under the skull, which is the bony case of the brain, there are bones lined up on top of each other, right from there all the way to the upper part of the buttocks. Now, these bones are 33 in number, and together they are called the vertebral column. All right. And that is what really keeps us straight. It gives us our shape and it does a lot of other things. Now, even though there are 33 bones, they are divided into segments. So the first 7 are called the cervical vertebra. When you look at the next 12, they are called the thoracic. So the first 7 forms the back part of your neck. The next 12 forms the back part of your chest. And the next 5 form the lower back. We call it the lumbar vertebra. And then the next 5 are fused together to be called to be known as what we call the sacrum. And then the next 4 also fused together and called the coccyx. That is like our tail. All right. So these 33 bones are just there like that. Now, the interesting thing about these bones is that in between each one of them is a hole. And so the holes of the various 33 bones form a canal, and that is where the spinal cord passes. So when you look at this second image, I mean, the image on your right here, you can see this hole at the top here. So all the holes form a canal, the spinal cord passes, and it really protects the spinal cord. Now, the interesting thing about these 33 bones is that they don't sit on top of each other. In between each two is this jelly-like substance we call the intervertebral disc, which looks bluey on the side on the screen. Now, when you take one intervertebral disc, it is made up of a thick gel in the middle and is surrounded by an outer fibrous layer. Now, this intervertebral disc does 2 main things. The first one is that it acts as a shock absorber. So assuming I stood on a hill and I jumped down, I won't feel that my bones are hitting on top of each other because this intervertebral disc soaks the pressure. Very important structure. The second thing it does is to enable us to bend, fluidly, so I don't feel my bones scratching each other when I'm bending. So very important, structure. Now, apart from the bones and the spinal cord and the intervertebral disc, we also have this yellowish strands coming out, as you can see from the first image. Now, these are the spinal nerves. The nerves go to every part of the body. The nerves really helps us to communicate with our environment. So, for example, if I stood by you and I closed my eyes and I touched any part of your body, I would know that this is, let's say, your shoulder I'm touching. Not because I am seeing, but because there are nerves in my arms or my hands that are sending messages through the spinal cord to the brain to say that this is a human shoulder I'm touching. So, very important structures. All right. So, I mean, all these structures are found at the back. And now this is a lateral view of how it looks like. So you can see the bones, they're separated by the bluish stellate intervertebral discs. And then we have the spinal cord, and other things. Now, apart from these ones, we also have ligaments, which are connecting a bone to a bone. We have, other small structures that we don't really pay too much attention right now. Now, it's important that we know that everything I've talked about here is performing a specific task. And it's important that they work at an optimal level. Now, let me say one more thing about the vertebral column, the 33 bones. Now, they are shaped in a particular way. So if I stood at your back and I looked at an x-ray of your back, I should see something very straight, like the image you see on your left. It should be straight as it is. However, if I stood on your side and I looked at your side, an x-ray of your side, I should see a very curvy structure like what you see on your right on the screen. Now, this is how it's supposed to be. Any moving away from this becomes a problem. And I need you to keep this in mind even as we progress. Now, apart from the bones and the intervertebral discs and the nerves and all the things we've spoken about, there are the muscles. Now, the muscles hold everything together, very important structures. I mean, there are so many bones in the body, and the bones are literally like sticks, non-living, they're just there. What actually brings about mobility and stuff like that are the muscles attached to these bones. Now, there are two major kinds of muscles. Of course, we can have various categorizations, but we can broadly categorize them into two. We have the outer global muscle, the very big muscle that we can even feel on the outside, the bigger ones. And then we have the much tinier ones, which we call the core stability muscles. So they are much internally, they are tinier, and they are more attached to the bones on the inside. Now, muscles, among other things, do two main things. The first one is that they bring about movement. So if I wanted to move from point A to point B, it's my muscles that are going to contract and relax and move the bones, and that brings about movement. So that's one kind of movement. Another kind of movement is if I wanted to just beckon you to come to me and just move my hands like this. My body is stationary, but my fingers are moving. They are moving because some muscles are pulling some of the bones in this direction, and that's how you can see my hand move like that. So muscles really bring about movement, very important. Now, the second thing that muscles bring about is what we call stability or stabilization. Now, the core stability muscle that I spoke about, you can think of them as the foundation of your house, wherever you live. They hold everything in place. They are the foundation of everything that we see on the outside. All right. And so it's so crucial that they work optimally. It is when the foundation is solid that the outer muscles can now do their job. All right. And I'm sure later we're going to talk about it. Let me say one more thing about muscles before we progress. Every activity that we do is sponsored by a group of muscles. So as you sit right now, you're able to sit as you're sitting because some group of muscles are working. The same way, if I pick up my remote and I'm keeping it, I hope you can see this. The reason why I'm able to hold this remote is because some muscles are working. So let's assume that this remote is so heavy, it's like 200 kg, very heavy. Now, I am able to hold it because my muscles, let's just say it's just the biceps, the muscles on my shoulder here, my upper arm here, the bicep, they are the only muscles taking care of this. I'm able to hold this phone or this remote controller because my muscles are working. Now, one of the things that brings about injuries, just going a bit ahead of myself, is when demand is more than capacity. So I said every activity is sponsored by a group of muscles. So when I overtax my muscles when I put a load that is too heavy or too much compared to the capacity of the muscle, there's bound to be injury. So if this phone or this remote is 200 kg, for me to be able to, and this is my job, every day I have to move this remote from point A to point B. For me to be able to do this work effectively without any problem, I will need muscles that are like 250 or 300 kg, and then there'll be no problem. All right. Now note that this remote that I'm carrying can be likened to everything else that we do. Your job, sitting behind a computer, doing your gardening, doing your, everything that you do. It is an action, it's an activity, and it's placing a demand on your body. All right. So let's keep that in mind, and we will come back to that. Now, so all of these things really are the back. And like I said, they work in harmony to make sure that the human body is able to perform at an optimal level. Now, I wanted to know that things, however, can go wrong. I mean, if everything stayed as it was, then they were a perfect world and nothing will go wrong. Everybody will be happy. But however, things can go wrong. Things can move away from the normal. And that really is our focus for this evening. I'm just going to show you a few pictures of some of the things that can go wrong with the spine specifically. So I talked about how, for example, when I'm standing at your back, I'm supposed to see a very straight image. For some people, due to one or two reasons, which we'll talk about later on, their spine is tilted, for example, to one side. And this is a medical condition that we will talk about later on. For some people, instead of we having that curvy, nature at the neck region, they have a very straightened neck, posture. So the curve in the neck is usually called the cervical lordotic curve. So people can lose this lordotic curve, and they say they have straightening of the cervical lordotic curve. So this is also something that usually happens. Some people, the curve we have at the lower back, instead of having a big curve, they have a much deeper curve. So, for example, it's very common among pregnant women because they're carrying baby. So this is also a movement away from the normal. And for some people, the back is more like a hunchback. Instead of we having a gentle curve, it's a much deeper curve. So we call it a kyphotic curve. All of these things are things that happen, and these people are not people living out of space. They're not people that we don't have. They are very common. There are so many people working, with us, some of our siblings, some of our brothers, some of our, cousins, our work colleagues are having these things I've spoken about. I'm just trying to say that they are very, very common. We'll talk about some of them, what really can get one there. But I want to get more specific, for lack of a better word. I want to get more intimate in terms of some of the conditions that usually would come. I mean, these are just brief, moving away from the curvatures. But we can have rare conditions that present at our clinics on a regular basis, and I want us to just understand what really is going wrong. And I think that it will really form a good foundation for what we want to talk about. So I'm going to start with a very common one. So people come to the clinic and they talk about have low back pain. The pain is there all the time, and I've gone to the hospital. My GP says I should take an X-ray. I took an X-ray. They say I have lumbar spondylosis. Big word. What is it? What is lumbar spondylosis? Now let's go back a little bit. Remember, we talked about the bones stuck on top of each other. And we said that in between each bone or any two of the bones is the intervertebral disc, as you can see on this image. Now, there's just three of the bones that I've taken out. Now, do you see that apart from the bones there with the intervertebral disc, there is the yellowish thing that we see here. These yellowish is coming out of something bigger up here. So that is the spinal cord in the middle. And then we have the nerves coming out of this place. Now, do you see that what is causing the hole, if I should call it, that is the hole that the nerve is coming out? The size of that hole is dependent on the thickness of this whitish thing, the disc. In other words, when the disc reduces in size, there's a tendency that the hole that the nerve is coming out is also going to reduce in size. All right. So this is you minding your business. You go to the office, you sit down from 8 o'clock, you sit down till lunchtime, 12 o'clock, and you get up. Unfortunately, or well, not unfortunately, interestingly, here on Earth, there's a certain force called gravity that works on us or pushes us down to the ground. Now, this force of gravity prevents us from floating, as we hear about in outer space. I've not been there yet. So The interesting thing about this force of gravity is that anytime you assume one position for too long meaning 2 hours plus consistently, the force of gravity has a propensity to put pressure on the intervertebral disc. So if on a regular basis, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you are constantly seated, behind your legs, you are working, the force of gravity keeps putting pressure on the intervertebral disc. Anytime you get up to, for example, stretch or take a walk or just stand for some time, the pressure is taken away. So your intervertebral disc gets to fill up again. Remember, I said it's a thick gel in the middle. All right. So it means that when you keep doing the repetitive activity over and over and over again, you are constantly putting pressure on your intervertebral disc. The problem is that when this continues consistently, the word underlined here is consistently for a long time, there comes a time where it becomes so much that now even when you get up to stretch, the intervertebral disc doesn't come up to its normal size again. All right. So we said that there is some form of degeneration on the disc. So the image that you see on the right, the disc is so degenerated, it's become so small that now the bones are relatively touching each other, with certain movement. So you can see that the edges of the bones are not smooth again. We call them bony spurs or osteophytes. And that's because regularly the bones are touching. Now, the effect of this is that now it means that the bones are relatively closer to each other. And also the gap where the spine or the spinal nerves were coming out has tenosed or has become smaller. So now certain activities will now put pressure on the nerve. Another thing that happens is that there's this nerve, this joint at the back here. We call it the facet joint. Don't worry too much about it. But because of the closeness of the bones to each other, there's a lot of pressure at that joint. So you can see at the back of this second image that there's also a bit of the bony spurs here. Okay, so all of these things that are going on, what the patient is now going to feel is pressure on the back, pain at the back, and also because of the pressure that we have on the nerve, as you can see here, the patient is going to complain about sometimes numbness and pins and needles in the leg. If this happens on one side, we say we'll have pins and needles on the side, or tingling sensations and stuff like that. What we popularly call sciatica, and the sciatica because the nerve that usually is affected, down there is called the sciatic nerve. All right. Now, all of this I've talked about started with just a little sitting down for too long, and it became a habit, because you need to, kill that contract, you need to finish that deadline and all of that, and it starts gradually, and it becomes something bigger, and then we need to do something bigger about it. All right. So this is just the first condition I want you to keep in mind. The second one is what they call disc herniation. So remember I talked about how in between any two of the bones we have the discs. Now, sometimes you can have pressure on the discs, intervertebral discs, so much pressure such that it causes cracks on the outer fibrous layer, as you can see in the first, the image on your left. Now, when it does that, the middle, gel can seep out. Now, when it does that, it causes a bulge. Causes the whole thing to bulge to that side. And unfortunately, there's no free space in the body. So when that happens, it can easily put pressure on any of the nerves. And that will also give you the same stuff that I talked about, tingling, sensation, pins and needles, numbness, sometimes pain, and all of that. Now, sometimes this will be caused most times as you are growing up, the intervertebral disc becomes a bit frail and it can easily crack and stuff like that, when you're really growing old. However, this can also happen even in younger people when there's sudden pressure. So somebody bends over to lift something very heavy, and all of a sudden he feels or she feels a certain, cracking sound at the back, and that can be a problem. Or somebody is involved in an RTA, an accident, and that also can lead to that. So when you look on on an MRI, this is how it will look like. Okay, so this is a disc herniation. The next condition I want to talk about, which is also quite common, is what we call upper back pain or thoracic back pain. Now, this is also quite common. So people are saying I'm having pains on the upper part of the chest, the back side of the chest, and this is also quite common. Now, um, sometimes people come and they complain about pains at the upper back, which sometimes gives them pain at the chest. And so they are like, oh, I have chest pain, and they're not sure whether it's my heart or my lungs or stuff like that. Now, because of certain, shall I say, neurological connections, pain at the upper back can easily refer pain to the chest. And of course, we will have to do certain tests to be sure that your chest pain is really coming from the back. The other cause of chest pains that I'm sure you may know about. All right. But we are saying that you can have pain at your upper back that can refer pains to the chest. Now, what can cause this? One of the major causes of this is when you sit down with your back not supported. Sitting down with your back unsupported, as simple as it sounds, can give a lot of pressure at the back, which eventually results in pain. Now, how does this happen? Two main things you do when you sit with your back not supported. The first one is that you are causing the muscles at your back to work unnecessarily, because there's no support. You are sitting in the middle. Of course, this picture is very exaggerated. I'm sure nobody on this platform really, sits like this, but yours may not be this bad, but you're sitting in the middle of your chair, your seat. And so there's a whole big gap at your back, and your muscles are working very hard to keep you right, prevent you from going down. And so your muscles get tired because you've been sitting down for a very long time. So because of the fatigue in the muscles, pain can result. And this is when it happens over a period of time. The other thing that can happen or that causes this is as you sat down with your back not supported, you are disrupting the natural curvature of the spine. Remember how we said it's supposed to be in a particular way? As we see in this picture, even though it's exaggerated, it is really distorting the natural curvature of the spine. So your body is assuming a big U shape as against the natural, flow. So when this goes on for a very long time, it really causes a lot of problems. All right. Now let's talk about one more condition: scoliosis. Moving away from the normal curvature in terms of lateral tilt. So as you can see in this image, the spine is tilted more to the right side, or it is viewed to that side. Now, sometimes a few people are born with this. We call it idiopathic scoliosis. So sometimes this is like a U-shaped scoliosis. Some people have what we call an S shape, so the curves are two. And some people are born with it. However, a lot of people get this, and it is acquired due to wrong posture. So, for example, somebody says, "Oh, my screen is on the side, and I can't change the screen, so I need to just every day shape myself or position myself in a very funny way, like you're seeing here." So, just by every day sitting like this, every day tilting to the left, every day tilting to the left, the brain picks that up and says that, "Wow, Charlie, can we help the guy? The guy wants his spine to be tilted to the left." And so then the body gradually, remember what we said from the beginning, the body gets acclimatized to whatever you throw to it. So because you do this consistently, now the spine starts tilting. It may not be as funny and exaggerated like what you see in the picture. It could just be a bag you're carrying on one side all the time, or a bucket of water you do one-sided all the time. Or you go to the gym, for example, and you decide for some strange reason to lift loads that are one-sided. And it's always on that side. The load is always kept on one side. Eventually, your body will get acclimatized to this, and your spine is going to tilt in that way. Now, let me continue by talking about a few myths when it comes to back pain. People have all kinds of perceptions about back pain. Sometimes you hear some things and you're wondering, where did they get this from? But in this part of the world, things travel and it can become the gospel all of a sudden. You're not sure what is the source of it. So the first myth I want to really take out of our memories or our perception is about the relationship between rest and back pain. So, there's an erroneous impression that when you have back pain, the best thing to do is to lie in bed. I don't want to get up and hurt anything. Let me just lie in bed and everything will be fine. But a lot of research from all over the world, there are a lot of clinical guidelines that suggest that when it's back pain, and especially when it's acute, movement really helps with recovery. So don't feel that because of the back pain, I don't want to do anything. I want to just lie down. Unfortunately, that doesn't help. The The second one also is that people think that pain means damage. The fact that I have pains at my back, it means that my bones are broken. I have torn a certain ligament, something wild is going on. It's not necessarily so all the time. I mean, pain is the way the body prompts us that check your body. So pain is that red light on your dashboard that is blinking and saying that check, engine check, engine check. So for most times or for sometimes, the pain that you are feeling, it doesn't mean that anything is broken or torn or very wild like that. You just need to check because the body is trying to prompt you. All right. But the next myth is that good posture, when we talk about good posture, it means it must be perfect. So you need to sit very well and your back is very straight. And every time keep a very straight back. And you shouldn't even breathe well. Everything is straight, straight, straight. So that is not how it's supposed to be. Movement variability is very important. I mean, good posture really talks about how you're able to move in different directions. We're going to talk about that later on. The body really was made to move, so don't have this erroneous impression that you need to keep your back straight all the time. Walk like there's a book on top of your head, as I've heard from a few of my sisters from some school that I know. A book is on top of your head and you have to walk very straight. Nothing should turn, nothing should curve. Unfortunately, research doesn't support that. All right. And the last thing is that exercise is dangerous when you have back pain. You don't have to exercise when you have back pain. You may be spoiling something, you may be aggravating something. No, there is proper exercise that really helps. So it is true, some exercises may be contraindicated for the back pain that you have. However, it is important that you see the right profession. You talk to a physiotherapist and we're able to teach very specific exercises for whatever the back pain is. As you have seen already, there's different types of back pain. So an exercise may work for this kind of back pain, but may not work for that kind of back pain. But it is not true that exercise generally is dangerous for back pain. It's a myth, and it needs to be dispelled from our knowledge base. Now, so the question is that what really can I do to prevent back pain? I mean, with all the things that I've said, all the things I've explained, anatomy and all of that, can we do anything to prevent back pain? And I'm going to talk about a few things, and I really pray that it would help us to really stay away and also deal with the back pain that maybe you have already or maybe you don't have yet. Now, the first one is what I call motion is lotion. Motion is lotion. If I was teaching in some primary school, I would say after me, motion is lotion. Motion is lotion. Now, when we talk about motion, we're basically talking about movement. The body, like I said before, is made up of bones. There are a lot of bones in the body. Now, these bones meet at places we call joints. So there are a lot of joints in the body, plenty joints in the body. Now, there are different kinds of joints in the body. There are joints, for example, that don't move. The bones that make up the joint don't move at all. So for example, the skull is made up of pieces of bones, but they are so fixed that they never move. No matter what you do, you can't move them. So those are there. But majority of the joints in the body are what we call synovial joints. Now, when you take a typical synovial joint, the bones that make up the joint don't touch each other. All right, there's a little gap in there. And inside this gap is what we call the synovial fluid. Now, the synovial fluid is so important. It does two main things. The first one, what it does first is that it lubricates the joint, make sure that there's good fluidity and everything is smooth. So the synovial joint or synovial fluid really lubricate the joint. The second thing, the synovial fluid nourishes the joint. So all the nutrients that we get from our food will go in there and the joint is nourished. Now, this fluid is so crucial, but unfortunately, or interestingly, the body cannot produce, we cannot produce synovial fluid outside the body. So we can't have, somebody injecting synovial fluid into a particular joint. The good news is that the body produces its own synovial fluid. Question, how can I get my body to produce more synovial fluid to lubricate my joint? Answer, movement. Once you start moving, your body naturally produces synovial fluid. Okay. The opposite is also true. Once you stop moving, the body doesn't produce synovial fluid. All right. So we are saying that once there is motion, there's lotion. You are lubricating your joints naturally, by just moving. Now, it is true that we are talking about the back. We're talking about backbones. The backbones are not really joints; they are just bones stuck on top of each other. But there are a lot of joints that are connected to the backbones that if we lose mobility in them, it's going to help or contribute to back pain. So we have the hip joint, the SIJ and all of that. Now, the interesting thing about this point is that sometimes as we grow older, something tells us that, Charlie, you have worked for long, you have struggled, you are 60 now, you passed retirement, so take it easy, relax a little bit. Now the guy now decides, the man who is 60 plus or the lady who is 60 plus now decide that he's going to sit down more, he's going to call people to bring his phone, bring my food, bring this, and he just seated. Now, when there is reduction in activity, the brain picks that up and it says that, Charlie, the guy is not moving, so let's reduce the amount of cerebral fluid being produced in the body, so the factory reduces its production. Now, when that happens, we start getting certain stiffness in the joint. Once we have stiffness, it leads to pain. Once there is pain, the guy said, actually, now there's when I move small, no pain. So then let me know if you move again. So the guy now reduces really his movement. The brain says that, sorry, the guy has stopped moving, let's stop production. Then everything comes down. More stiffness, more pain, less movement, less cerebral fluid production, more stiffness, and it becomes a cycle. And all that we need to do to reverse this is to jump to the other side, decide to start moving. Once you start moving gradually, it's going to let the brain now pick up the information and say that the guy has started, let's help him. The factory now starts again, and the process is reversed. It's so crucial that we move no matter what happens. Never forget this. Movement always is lotion. The second point, regular posture alteration is really the key. So, like I said, there are different muscles. I mean, I've said already that muscles sponsor every activity that we do in life. Now, there are different kinds of muscles that do different things. So, as I'm sitting down right now, there are muscles that are aiding my sitting. The same way, somebody may be standing right now listening to me on his phone or something like that. There are different muscles that are sponsoring that standing that he's doing. Somebody may be squatting or something, whichever posture I can think about. Now, when I sit down for a while, my muscles for sitting are working. If I decide to stand after 1 hour to now stand, my muscles of sitting now get to take a breath or a breath, they take a breather, they relax so that the muscles for standing now kick in. So by regularly alternating your postures, you are giving muscles, different kinds of muscles rest and then opportunity to work. And that really is a very simple way to really look at it. So for example, during the COVID time, we had a lot of people come and talk about or complain about pains at their upper back, their mid back, because a lot of people were working from home and they were in this position. And some people use this position either to watch a movie or something like that. Now, what is happening is that when you stay in this position for a very long time, the same thing is happening. Muscles supporting this are working, and after some time they get tired and then problem comes. Another problem with this position is that you are distorting the natural curvature of the spine, like we've spoken about already. All right. So the best thing to do that when you stay in this position for a long time, maybe after 1 hour, take a break, lie on your back, and let those muscles relax a little bit, or even sit down a bit or stand for a bit, and then come back to this position again. I mean, we wish you wouldn't stop at all, but it doesn't matter. Regular position alterations really, really, really help us to stay away from back pain. All right. The next point is I keep the frame supported always. I mean, you cannot let your back hang. You would need to make sure your back is supported at all times. That is why we don't sit on benches in the office. You need to make sure that anytime you sit down, your back is supported. I've done presentations to corporate organizations and they're asking me, what is the best chair we should buy? Can you lead us to a shop that we can buy the best chair? I'm saying that one of the major things to look out for is that your chair should have a firm back. We can later talk about the shape and the beauty and stuff like that. But the most crucial thing is that the back of your chair should be firm and it should be able to support your back. All right. I've already talked about how if it's not supported, one, the curvature is being distorted, and two, the muscles are overworking. All right. So once your back, I mean, there shouldn't be a gap between your back and the back of your chair. It should be firmly, they should be together at all times. Very, very important. So, so important. All right. So you're getting up regularly, like we've spoken about the first one, and we are saying that now make sure that your back is rested all the time. Number four, avoid the imbalance. So, like we've said already, everything is symmetrical. Don't do things to favor one side of your body. Don't do things. I mean, things as benign or as simple as even common wallet in your pocket. Why do we keep, for example, a fat wallet always on the right? Well, I don't blame us. I think we should blame our designers and our tailors and stuff. I don't know why they always keep the pocket on the right. But then, I mean, just imagine if you are sitting down right now, if you can put one of your hands under maybe your right or your left buttocks, and you can feel that all of a sudden things are different. There's a bit of pressure on one side. So even without going up to explain the much technical problem, even the fact that I have just put my hand under one of my buttocks, I feel that the pressure levels down there are not the same. All right. So if this continues for a very long time, it's obviously going to create issues. But a much bigger problem is what is happening up there, because as I have kept the wallet there, I'm causing a certain tilting of the spine, the pelvis. It may not be as exaggerated as you are seeing right now, but little drops of water make a mighty ocean. And usually the problems that come from this will not happen overnight. So somebody says that, oh, I've been doing this for a very long time. That has been happening. What are you talking about? And everything is okay until one day, a certain your 62nd birthday, when you are coming to cut your cake, then a problem comes. And you're wondering what happened. I've not fallen down. I've not had an accident. Why is this thing coming? Is it my family who doing me or whatever? My enemies are at work. It is because the body can tolerate a lot of things until it says that I can't do it again. You understand? So we are saying as much as possible, keep it leveled. Either you're keeping your wallet in your jacket, if you have a jacket, or something. Don't keep it like that. And it's not just wallet. I mean, simple things like crossing legs. I'm sure some of you have crossed your legs. It's not a problem to cross your leg. The problem really is when you now acquire a habit of crossing, for example, your left leg always on the right. So you're always crossing the left on the right, left on the right, left on the right, never right on left. It can become a habit. You don't even think about it. It easily moves. I do it sometimes. All right. Now, the same principle is happening here. As you are crossing, lifting one leg and coming to put it on another leg, the pelvis is tilting. It's actually shifted to one side. And the danger is that it is always tilting to one side, one side, one side. And don't forget what was at the beginning. The body gets acclimatized to what you keep doing consistently. So every day is to that side. Every day is to that side. A time is going to come. The brain says that, guys, the guy wants us to tilt the pelvis, so let's keep it tilted all the time. Now that becomes your new normal. Now you're working and your body is tilted in a funny way. You don't even understand. People are laughing at you. You're wondering what they're laughing at. You understand? So we are saying as much as possible. Yeah, I'm not saying stop crossing your leg. If you want to continue doing it, if you cross left on right for some time, do right on left and keep it balanced. Simple things like keeping a bag there. This is really common among our young ones, the teenagers. I mean, it's funkier to use one handle, but then the problem is that will you use only the right side? Can you change it? Can you swap between the left and the right? Ladies' bag, can you swap it? You're going to fetch water, for 4 gallon. I mean, you don't have any reason to keep it on your left side all the time. When you do left small, do right small. Keep the balance all the time. It saves you a lot of problems. Trust me on this one. All right. Now let's talk about lifting and carrying. I mean, we can't do without these two, lifting and carrying, but there's always a better way of doing things. You need to do it smartly. And the principle here is that whatever you are lifting should be closer to your waistline. The closer the object is to your waistline, the safer. So when you look at the images on your on the red line, the image on top,
Um,
yes.
sorry. There's one Kafui Bobe who is doing things on the screen. Kafui, please note, stop doing things on the screen.
Yes,
Thank
Kafi.
you.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Kafi, help us. Yeah. So the image or the thing that's the object he's lifting is down. His waistline is up there, and he has bent his body all the way to pick the object. This is recipe for disaster. If you do this, if you are very fortunate, the effect will not come on the first time, maybe the second, third time you are there already. You understand? So we are saying that to make it safer, I mean, we wish we said I don't carry anything heavy, but this is life. We are living, so you may be, you may have to carry heavy things. We are saying that the safest to do, since you cannot call a thing to come up, is to now bring your waist down. You know what they say about is it Muhammad or Moses and the mountain? If this one can come, this one can go. All right. So bring your waist down to the level of the object. And how do you do that? Use the appropriate joint, hip joint, knee joint. They are solid joints that are meant to bend. The guy at the top is using his back, the vertebral column. They are not joined, they're just bones stuck on top of each other, and it's going to give you problems. All right. So bend your knees, bend your hips, come very closer to the object, pick it up, and then now straighten your knee and your hip joint, and voila, you are there. The best way to lift. All right. Now we are saying that when you've lifted and you need to now carry it, remember the closer the object is to your body, the safer it is. So whether you're in the gym, whether you're at home or whatever, and you're carrying load, the closer it is to your body, the safer. This really explains why, for example, as pregnant women, as babies are they're hitting the second to third trimester, they seem to be more prone to back pain. And this is because baby is growing in their bellies and is moving away from their bodies. And of course, this is a natural phenomenon. So then they are just prone to back pain. Of course, there are things that we can do to help them, but it's just the same principle. So you that are not pregnant, let's make sure that you don't carry things by moving them away from your body. It really does a lot of disservice, to your back. All right, so let's remember this. Number 6, pillows. Pillows, to do or not to do, to use or not to use. Well, I say pillows are a blessing. Somebody say, oh, I don't do pillows. We cannot talk about or complete the conversation about pillows without talking about sleeping posture. They always move together. So don't, for example, ask me, should I sleep on pillow or should I not sleep on pillows? No. Before we answer that question, we need to talk about sleeping postures. And there are 3 major ones. The other sleeping face up, face down, or on your side. There are all kinds of conversations that are going around this one. This one is the best. They say sideline is the best, face up is the best. Some say face down is the best. Some say if I sleep face up, I feel like a corpse. Some say I snore a lot when I sleep face up. So there are all kinds of stuff about sleeping posture. Now, what I say, based on a lot of literature and a lot of experience, dealing with my clients, is that no matter how you sleep, I mean, it has one of these 3. Anything apart from these 3, you're not part of us. You're not from this part of the world. I mean, you're something else. It has to be one of these 3. Yeah. Now, you can use pillows to really augment all of them. I mean, they all have their pros and their cons. But the good news is that pillows can really help us to get the best out of these 3. So let's start with the commonest, which is sleeping face down. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Now, the problem with sleeping face down, if you look at the image here, on top here, where the red thing is, when you sleep face down, remember I talked about the force of gravity that is keeping us down here on earth. Now, when you sleep too, force of gravity is still acting on us, it's acting on you. Now, the rib cage, which is a very solid, structure, is all the way from the base of your neck all the way down to kind of the mid part of your tummy. Now, the rib cage really supports the upper part of your body, the thoracic part. But then when it comes to the lower part here, where the stomach is, the belly is, there's nothing solid there. All the structures there are softies, the stomach, the intestines, and all those stuff. So they're not able to give you a very firm grip. So the force of gravity is able to put more pressure on the lumbar vertebra. Remember the third group I talked about? I said there was cervical, thoracic, and the lumbar. The lumbar side, there's a lot of pressure there. All right. And so one of the best ways to really handle that is to push a pillow there. So the pillow is from your last rib, and you can easily palpate your last rib, from that side all the way to your pelvis area, as you can see here. All right. Now keep a pillow there and then sleep. If you've not done this before and you decide to try it tonight, trust me, it's going to be a bit uncomfortable, but your body will get used to it if you can just be persistent and continue. All right. Now, when you keep a pillow down there, you can decide to keep a pillow under your head or not. It's really optional. Okay, for sleeping face, and we call it the prone line. Now, the second one I want to talk about is sleeping face up, what we call the supine line. And the problem with this is that when you sleep face up like this and your legs are straight, especially for our ladies, you can have a gap at your lower back, so as if your lower back is not touching the bed or the floor. And that can be a bit uncomfortable. Now, the way to go around that is to keep a pillow under your knees, such that your knees are slightly flexed or slightly bent. Now, when you do that, it really helps your back, your lower back, to really feel supported down there, and you are good to go. All right. So for this one too, you can decide to use a pillow under your head or not. It's really optional, just like the first one. Now, the last one, which is sideline, quite common too, they say is one of the recommended, is great. But I consider that the most complicated, because unlike the first two, keeping a pillow under your head on the side is not optional. You have to do it. And you can't just do it anyhow. We need a pillow that will fill this gap. If you can see me, the gap between your chin and your shoulder, that gap here. So we need a pillow that will not let your head drop when you lie on your side, or a pillow that is too big that will let your head be raised to that side, if you can imagine what I'm talking about. All right. So it's like you need to get a pillow that will make your body, your head, stay in line with the rest of your body. All right. And that is so crucial. Once you get that right, you're good to go. The pillow is never for your shoulders. Pillow is always, doesn't matter how you are sleeping, whether face up, face side, or face down. Pillow is always for your head and your neck only. Head and neck only. All right. So on your side, you're keeping a pillow under your head to make sure that your head is aligned, it's not dropping or it's not raised up. Now on your side, you can keep a pillow in between your legs, as you can see here, for support. Also, for our ladies, it is actually not optional like that, especially for lack of a better expression, if you are hippie, because if you have much hips and you sleep on the side without a pillow in the middle, your leg on top kind of drops. It falls in because of the way the hips are. So when you keep a pillow in between your legs like this, it kind of supports it. It keeps your legs aligned, to the rest of like the other leg, and this really helps. All right. So with all that I've said about this, you decide how you want to sleep. I was having a conversation with one of my clients this afternoon, and he was talking about sleeping postures and how he doesn't. I mean, we know that he doesn't know how he ends up. We keep changing as we sleep, and that is correct. But we are saying that start right. So if you are sleeping for even only 5 hours at night, let's say 5 hours, yeah. If you can start right, the first 1 hour, at least before for lack of a better word, the madness sets in when you sleep, you start right, position things well, and then sleep will take over later on. So at least for 1 hour, you're doing the right thing. It's better than not doing the right thing throughout. All right, very important stuff. Now let me say that everything that we do, almost everything that we do kind of fight against us. Your work, home chores, your gardening, playing with your kids, it's really taking something away from your body. It's almost like it's working against you. When you look at some of our parents, our mothers and our grannies and stuff like that, it's almost like they're becoming smaller. It's not that they are sick, but like something is being taken away from you. Your job is really having a toll on you. You may not feel it, you may not see it. The good news is that we can fight back. We can prevent this thing from taking a better part of us. And one of the best ways to do this is exercise. And thumbs up to all the gym guys, on the platform. You guys that are able to go to gym, Charlie, I really admire you guys, because you would have to find some space in your life to exercise. Exercises don't become optional for you. I don't feel like, I'm not in the mood. No, just like you treat other things like eating and sleeping, that is how exercises should be treated, because there are a plethora of things that exercises do. I mean, I can give a whole lecture on exercises for like 10 hours. I won't finish, but I just want to say one important thing, break it down this way for you to get, so the next time you exercise, you know what you're doing. Like I said, things are fighting your body. All kinds of demands are being placed in your body. Now, you deciding to exercise is like fighting back. Let me use this scenario to explain it better. So the guys from Kenya, we all know that they are great marathon runners. They said they are good guys. They run marathon. They can do all the kilometers and they don't get tired and they're always winning the gold medals and stuff like that. What really is unique about these guys? How come all of a sudden, why is it that Ghanaians were not best marathon runners? I mean, it's not because, why can't it be asked? Why Kenyans and all those guys from there? Now, the thing about the Kenyan land, I understand, I've not been there yet, is that it's at a higher altitude. Their lands are higher, more like they live on mountainous areas, for lack of a better expression. They are higher than us. We are on the ground and they are higher. Now, because they are higher, it means that the amount of oxygen that they have is relatively smaller. So the sky is the same. Everywhere you go, the sky is the same. The gap between the ground and the sky is the same. And this whole gap is filled with oxygen. And oxygen is so crucial. Oxygen is what the cells need to do everything you can think about in the body, all the various reactions. So we need a lot of oxygen. Now, the guys at a higher altitude have lesser oxygen available to them. Now, the guy in Kenya wakes up one day and he says, you know what, I want to start exercising. I want to start going for a walk. I want to start jogging. And as they are doing that, they struggle a bit because their lungs are demanding more oxygen, but they don't have enough oxygen. So they struggle, they pant, but they still decide, I want to still do it. I want to still do it. And they are panting and they are doing it. The good thing is that we've said already, the more you do things consistently, the more your body gets acclimatized. So unknowing to them, as they are pushing themselves through, their lungs are getting acclimatized. Now they can do everything in Kenya. They can run, they can jog, and they're not panting again because they've been consistent and they are good to go. Now they announced that the next Olympic Games is going to be hosted in Ghana. Everybody's excited that Ghana, we are hosting this. Now, the Kenyans are more excited because Ghana is at a low ground. I mean, it's at a lower level. Everything is down here. So when they come to Ghana, I mean, you can imagine the amount of oxygen they have. Even in the midst of the scanty oxygen, they were able to survive. So when they come now to Ghana with a lot of oxygen, whatever you tell them to do, any miles, any kilometer, they will just do it with ease. Now, that is exactly what happens when you exercise your body. Why are you, for example, going for a walk? Why are you lifting metals? Why are you doing the step and doing all of that? Why are you exposing yourself to hardships? You are doing that, and unknowingly, you are making your body get very acclimated. You are toughening your body. You are pushing your body to a certain limit. Sometimes you are doing the exercise, you are panting, you are sweating, you are still pushing through. What you are doing is that you are increasing your capacity. So when you now finish and you go to work or you are home or whatever, there is nothing that life can throw at you that will surprise you. You've done the worst in the gym. You've done the worst, when you went for that walk, when you're doing that sit to stand and stuff, you did the worst and you didn't die. And that really is how you should see exercise. So the opposite too is true. When you don't exercise, your capacity is coming low. So the smallest thing, you're supposed to lift some tables in the office. By the time you do 1, 2, you're panting, you're so tired because your capacity is so low. And so we need to work on that. All right. And like I said, kudos to all the guys who can do the gym and stuff like that. But if you can afford the gym, I'm saying afford because sometimes there's even no time. It's not just the time and the money, but sometimes the time and stuff like that. There are basic things you can do in your room. For example, you can decide to pick a chair, put it somewhere, and decide to sit and stand, sit and stand, sit and stand. Start with, let's say, a minimum of 20 reps. So every morning you're doing sit to stand 20 times. The next day, do the same thing. After day 3, decide to increase it to maybe 30 reps or 40 reps. Keep challenging yourself, right? It's a simple thing, but you are at least doing something. Start small. Don't want to impress, people, you go to the gym, somebody is lifting, heavy, you want to also do some, unfortunately, that doesn't help. It's not a competition. You just have to find your space and do something. It's so important. Yeah. Now, let me quickly talk about this as I'm talking about exercises. The needs, in as much as exercises are very good, and I'm talking about how it needs to be promoted and stuff like that, there needs to be a recovery period. So don't get too excited about this exercise and that every day I'm hitting the gym, every time I'm doing this, any opportunity I get, I'm running to the gym and stuff like that. Recovery is not optional. It is part of the training itself. So whether you want to build muscles, you want to, whatever you want to do, you need to leave gap, a space for recovery. Now, what happens when you are training, when you're in the gym or wherever you're doing your training is that one, muscle fibers experience a lot of stress and damage, microscopic. You may not even see it, and even an MRI may not pick it up, but things happen. A few tissues are damaged here and there. Energy stores are depleted. The nervous system can get very fatigued because you're going on and on and on. The good news is that when you recover, when you take a break, when you allow some break in between your exercise period, you allow the muscles to repair themselves. The strength is more adaptable. Your tissues are rebuilt. You improve performance. Without adequate recovery, progress slows or completely stops. Always remember this. Let's not get too excited about this and then keep pushing the body, keep pushing the body, keep pushing the body. We need to really take some time off to recover, for the body to recover well. And the components of good recovery period is sleep. You need to have some good sleep. I mean, they're saying that if you can afford 6 to 7 hours a day, that is solid. You need to eat well, a balanced diet, because there are various components in the food that the body needs. You're building tissues and stuff like that. You need proteins, you need carbohydrates for the energy. All of these things that I'm sure you may remember from your school days. So try and eat a balanced diet. And then water. You need to drink a lot of water, because like I said, all the reactions take place in the cells. And one of the major components of cells really is water. So at every point in time, drinking a lot of water really helps replenish all the water that we are losing in ourselves, and it's so important. All right. Now, let me quickly say that when I talk about recovery, I'm not just talking about going to lie down in bed. It doesn't mean always resting. There are different strategies that can use to recover, like going for a walk. So maybe you've been doing a lot of lifting and a lot of bodybuilding stuff. You can decide to go for a walk. You can do some mobility work. You can do some light cycling, some stretching, swimming, or something away from what you've been doing regularly. It really helps you to recover. All of these things help circulation. It helps the lubrication that we spoke about, and also the muscles to relax. Well, now let me end by saying that the reason why we are talking about all of this is because there is more like a spectrum when it comes to back pain. It always starts little, a little pain here, a little tingling here, something small. I felt something at my back, just little. Sometimes it will go away after 2 days. Now, this is the body trying to draw your attention. Unfortunately, if you keep ignoring these symptoms, these signs the body is trying to draw your attention to, the end of the spectrum is that you're going to end up on a certain theater bed. You need to be cut, and then you need to be fixed. Now, the problem with being cut and fixed is that it's a very complicated process. So it's not like the surgeons do a bad job, but we are saying that it gets to a certain point that the only option you have is surgery. And apart from surgery being very expensive, it's also very complicated. I've had to deal with a few patients, for example, who have had, laminectomies that went well. They went in there to correct something very important, maybe a decompressed laminectomy, and it went well. But by the time they finished, there was some form of paralysis because a certain nerve was, cut or something like that. It's not because the surgeon wasn't good or something like that. All the images I've shown you look very nice, and nice nerves here, nice bones here. When you go in there, really, it's a lot of convoluted things, a lot of things all over the place. So the guy has to now go in and open things up and all of that. A lot of things can go wrong. We are saying that you do not need to get to that level. Start doing something about it now. Start paying attention to that pain. It is not normal. Pain is not a fun thing that you think that, oh, my body just felt like being painful. It is your body drawing attention to you that there is something not going right, and you can easily fix them. So my message really is that seek help. Don't assume that it will go. Yes, it will go, but it will go and come back. The good news is that at our facility, we are looking at our Belenpe. These are some of the things that we deal with, whether it's low back pain, whether it's sciatica, neck pain, like the mid back pain we spoke about, whatever it is. Make an appointment, write a number down, take a snapshot, and call us for an appointment. We need to fix it. Don't wait till it gets to a point that now we can't even do anything about. And the only thing that has to be done is I need to be cut. If that is done, obviously it will help, but trust me, your quality of life will never be the same again. A broken mark that is fixed with the world's best glue can never be compared to a mark that has never fallen down. Always remember this. So give us a call and we'll help with you an assessment of your spine, and we'll let you know what you can do to really help you get out of this mess. So thank you so much. I hope you've learned a thing or two. I want to hand over to Dr. Mabel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Exciting, exciting. I know we've all learned a lot. Some of my friends were sending me messages and say, "Hey, this doctor is very good, oh." So thank you very much, Sam, for teaching us to be able to support our backs and maintain our spine health. We have a few questions in the platform. Let me read it, and then if you're on the call and you still have a question, you can unmute your mic and then ask. So thanks a lot. We have some messages thanking you, Sam, for a good presentation. And one person says that sometimes when I want to make movement from sitting or laying down, so I guess when they are changing their position, I feel a sharp pain, like a second sharp. I really don't understand this. What could be causing that?
Yeah. Okay. So usually when you are having pain associated with changing position, so whether moving from lying to sitting or sitting to standing, so yes, it's good that we will do a proper assessment to find out exactly. But generally, one of the major causes of that is that your core is not very strong. When you have a very, well, I won't say very weak, when you have a weak core, it's not able to really support you well. All right. So one of the things that we do, for example, at the clinic is to do an assessment of your core stability muscles. And for most people, that is just the problem. So if the guy is complaining of a lot of pains at the back, I don't understand. He keeps coming and going. Somebody says that, well, I was okay, everything was fine. I only bent down to brush my teeth, the mirror is a bit lower. By the time I finished, I couldn't straighten up. You've not fallen, nothing major has happened. Most often than not, it is the core that needs to be toughened up. And when you come about the basic thing that we can do to really help you to come out of that. Yes,
thank you. Thank you. One of the lessons I learned when I started physio is exercises for my core muscles. It's not easy, but it's very helpful. Okay. The next question says, can disc herniation put pressure on your shoulders and neck?
Okay, so let me start by saying when we talk about disc herniation, we are not only focusing on the lower back, the lumbar spine. Remember, I talked about the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar. Now, whatever happens at the lumbar, the lower back, can also happen up there, the cervical, because the same principle, the same discs and stuff, only that if you are more prone to get that at the lumbar region, so something may happen and you can have stuff up there and it can lead to pressure on the nerve and stuff like that. It's just that usually the cervical region you're not more prone to it because we don't have a lot of load on that side, but they say never say never. Then again, sometimes people come with certain symptoms and in their mind they are saying that it's because of this thing that I did or because of this that happened to me, that's why I'm having that. Sometimes two things can happen at the same time. So the fact that somebody said, oh, everything was fine, I just, let's say, bent over to pick something and I had this pain and it's so excruciating, and in your mind, it's just the bending over you did, but something maybe was happening already. And this last thing, the last, they call it what, something that would come
The last straw.
Yeah. Exactly. It was just the last one. Doesn't mean that was the main thing, but the body maybe was tolerating a lot of things, So you could have different things happen at the same time, and it's very easy, for us to say, oh, it's because of this one that I'm having that. But that is why it's always important that we do a proper assessment to really find out what is the cause of your symptom, and that's always the best way to go. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. The next question says, if you have occasional pain due to bad sitting posture, not severe pain, and you correct your sitting position or stand to work, will the spine adjust and correct any impact the bad sitting posture caused? How long is too long to make the sitting posture affect on the spine? The sitting posture effects on the spine permanent.
Yeah. Well, I always say never. So most of the things we are doing. So when we talk about dealing with back pain, there are two main ways. We have the surgical approach, like I talked about earlier on, and we have the conservative approach. What we do, what I do is conservative. And what we are doing basically is to reverse everything that has happened. And the reversal sometimes can be instantly because we are doing a certain spinal mobilization or a manipulation or something like that, can be instant. But for some of them, for example, if you have been sitting down, always shugging yourself to the right, always to the right. Now we are going to teach you stuff that will make you now do things to the left, to bring you back. So just like it has taken a very long time for you to get wherever you are getting, we will need to intentionally do the good things also for that long. I keep saying it's just that sometimes people get tired. But when you're doing the bad things, you didn't even think about it, or you are very consistent with the bad things. So one of the things that we encourage is that stick with us. Everybody that comes to our clinic will by all means leave with certain kinds of exercises. The problems that we have or the issues we have is that sometimes our clients, when they get better small, then they will abandon the exercises, and that becomes a problem. The reason why the exercises are important is that we need to really bring you back. Whatever we do in the consulting, no matter how good it makes you feel, it cannot be compared to the main thing that is happening, which can only be reversed through certain exercises. All right. So directly answering your question, yes, we can bring it back. It's very difficult for me to give timeline that, okay, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, because there are different conditions that we can talk about. But then, yes, everything can be reversed. Just like it got bad, it can also get better. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm feeling guilty because I've stopped my exercise.
Please don't stop. I beg you.
Because the pain is gone. Okay. So is it healthy to have knuckling? I mean, like, I think the person means like a cracking sound when you attempt moving, say getting up from the floor or stretching. Is that sharp electric pain in the spine a result of your nerves or muscle?
Okay,
So
so
there
let
are two
me.
questions.
Yes.
One is
Okay.
the sound and one is the pain.
Yes. So let me start with the sound. So I won't say the sound is bad. I mean, we call it cavitations. We call them, cavitations. So for example, there are certain techniques that we use in the clinic. We call them spinal manipulations. That when we do them, you will hear the same sound, and that needs to be done professionally. Sometimes people, have ways of doing it. I've had people who have a way of doing their legs in a very funny way, and you hear certain sound and they say, they feel better. And I tell them, one day, by the time you do it, your head will be holding your hands. And you'll be wondering, hey, what's happening? So, but there's been a lot of conversation, schools of thought about even the sound that we hear when we crack our knuckles. One of the explanations given to that, why the sound comes, is that there are joints we are talking about. And like I said, the joints have got fluids in them. And so sometimes you can get air bubbles trapped in the synovial fluid. So based on how you move the joint, it can cause the air bubbles to pop out. So the sound that you feel is really the sound of the air bubble popping out. That's one of the explanations that is given. But then research shows that it has an analgesic effect. And that's why we do them in the clinic. It's not every back pain that needs cracking. It's not every back pain. We need to do an assessment to find out whether yours needs or not. But then what I can say is that even in the clinic, the ones we do in the clinic, it produces relief, but it's very short-lived. That is why nobody will come to my clinic, for example, and I will do a spinal manipulation and I'll say, okay, get up and go. No. Yes, you may give you instant pain, instant relief, but we need to maintain that relief that you've had. And that's why we'll do other things. We'll do a soft tissue manipulation. We'll do maybe a bit of electro. We'll do some exercises to make sure that the effect is long-lived. Yes. So yeah. So I hope that helps your question.
Yeah,
And the other
yeah.
one was
It, is that
numbness.
sharp, is the sharp electric pain in the spine a result of your nerves or muscle?
No. So once you are having tingling sensations, pins and needles, and numbness, sometimes hot and cold sensations, these are all signs that there's some form of pressure on a nerve. So that is how the nerves really, they communicate to us. Like I said, I'll go over again: pins and needles, tingling sensation, numbness, pressure on a nerve. The pressure on the nerve could sometimes be at the root of the nerve, where the nerve starts from the spinal cord. The nerves come out of the spinal cord. So where they come out, that junction is called the root of the nerve. And that's a very common place that you normally have pressure there because of the discs you spoke about. However, sometimes you can have pressure on the root of the not the root, somewhere along the nerve. It's not the root, somewhere along the nerve. So for example, a condition like sciatica, sciatica, even is very common, but it's talking about it. There are two main kinds of sciatica. It's either there's pressure on the root of the nerve at the top along the spine, or there's a certain small muscle in the buttocks called the piriformis muscle. And this piriformis muscle is so small, it moves from your hip to your sacrum. And unfortunately, the sciatic nerve passes through it or very close to it. So anytime the sciatic nerve is strained, it puts pressure on the nerve, and you feel the same thing that you feel when you have pressure on the root at the top, at the lumbar vertebra. So what we do is to make sure that we identify where exactly the pressure is. We can't treat all pressure on nerves the same. We need to identify where the pressure is, and then we can now teach you specifically what we can do to take it off. Yes.
Great, great. Thank you. We have so many questions. So Payne is asking that instead of you talked about exercises, can you replace that with walking, regular walking, instead of going to the gym?
Okay, so yes, I mean exercises. So that's a general thing, exercise, and under it we have different options. So like I said, some people can afford to go to the gym, solid. The good thing about the gym is that you have different options. So people go to the gym to join an aerobic class. I mean, Otamabel is an expert in all these steps. You're showing me some wild videos. Some people, some people do taekwondo, some people do tai. I mean, they're all exercises. But I'm saying that maybe you don't have the luxury of time to go to the gym, or even the money may be a challenge. You can go for your walk. It is very it's also doing something. Like last night, for example, I decided to go for a walk. I realized the time was almost 9 p.m., but I still went for my walk. It does a lot of good. Walking is a great exercise that really helps. However, when, for example, there's an issue with your back, I'm having pains at my back. Don't just say that, oh, the guy said that we should exercise when we are in pain. So I'm going to walk with the intention of dealing with my back pain. No, we will need to find out why the pain is there. So the exercise that I will teach you may not be the walk. The walk is a general thing that has a lot of benefit to every part, even your cardiovascular system and your psychological thing, yes. But then when pain comes into the picture, we need to be specific with regard to what kind of exercise. Like somebody asked, there are some exercise that may be contraindicated to some conditions. So even those who go to the gym, you may have some back pains and you cannot do certain exercises because of the back pain. So it's important that you seek help, so we'll let you know what you can do and what you cannot do. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And I think this question is from one of our senses. So the question is says when a martial arts practitioner is suffering from scoliosis, what are some of the exercises that a martial arts instructor can recommend?
Okay, so the thing about scoliosis is, like I said, it's a tilting, for lack of a better expression, a tilting of the spine to one side. Instead of it being straight, it's tilted to one side. So the very basic thing a physiotherapist will do for you is one to find out where the tilting is. So some people's own is so clear that you can just do a physical assessment and see, but for some people, it's not that clear. So we will ask you to do an X-ray. Once we see an X-ray, we will know that okay, maybe it's tilted. So we say maybe tilting to the left, or maybe it has a left convexity or a right convexity, showing that the pointed side is on the left or the right. Once we know it, one of the things we do is we will ask ourselves what could have caused you to get there. It could be that whatever caused you to get there, you are still doing the thing. And for sometimes it's something that you've not been taking, cognizance of. Maybe my screen is on one side, or even at home, my TV is in the corner. I have this solid sofa chair that I love to sit in. Is that this chair or it's mommy's chair? But then because of where it is and where the TV is, I need to always sugar myself to one side. It looks very, harmless and all of that. But that is gradually scoliosis, apart from those who have theirs, who are born with it. Those who get acquired is gradual, small, 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 small. So the first thing we're asking you to do is try and move away from what could have caused it. The second thing is that we will now try and undo or let you do the opposite of what you've been doing. And there are so many exercises that we can teach to really help you. We don't expect that you come, for example, to our clinic and we just do one manipulation and bam, it's straight again. The body is not like that. If the body was like they can imagine what will be happening. Any small brand that you have tell like this, any small brand you have tell like that, that would be problematic. So the body is quite firm, and we need to treat it with a lot of dignity and also consistency or persistence. Do it gradually, and we keep measuring to make sure that it has come back. It is very possible. I know that people say, "Oh, I've had it for years." You have had it because you have fed it, you have perfused it or done things to encourage it. So now let's do the opposite. Let's discourage it. Let's do the opposite that will bring it back. And it's very possible. So yes, please. There are things that can be done to really help, scoliosis reverse.
Okay. Some people are asking about access to the recording. So this was recorded on our YouTube. It was live. So if you go onto the YouTube channel, um, you will get the full recording and you can listen to it over and over again. Um, Let me do nepotism more and ask this question that is in the bottom for one of my sweethearts. It says that I have a sharp pain that shoots upwards from between my big toe and second toe each time I bend forward or put any body weight on it. What are some of the simple things I can do to alleviate this nerve pain?
So one of the things that we need to understand is that for most of these, sensations that we feel in our legs, lower limbs, whether it is pins and needles, whether it's tingling, whether it's around the calf region or on the big toe or on the dorsum of your foot, wherever it is on the lower limbs, the source most often than not is at the back. So sometimes we are treating this condition without even touching your leg because we need to get to the back. There is some form of pressure on something at the back, and there are ways that we can really tell based on the pattern that you are telling us. For example, if you're having pain on this part of your leg, this part of your hip, this of your thigh, this part of your leg, the calf and stuff, be able to tell which level at the back needs attention. So that forms part of the assessment that we do. And so once we know the area and other things that we may other questions we'll ask, we'll be able to tell which exercise, for example, we should do, or which maneuver manipulation that we should do in the clinic before we teach you what you should do at home. All right. So it is possible, but then we need to do a proper assessment. We need to ask a few more questions and even find out how we got there. What is associated with the symptom? What you said you bend over, for example. When you bend over, do you get anything also at the lower back, or is it just down there you're talking about between your toes? As you are mentioning. What happens when you bend backwards? You do the opposite of coming forward. Does it ease the pain or it doesn't? So these are some of the questions that we ask just to give us an idea what could be going wrong. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And those who have your hands up, I have not forgotten about you. I'll come to you very soon. Um, Somebody says for the walk we're talking about, the general exercise walk, should it be a brisk walk or should it be a slow walk or it doesn't matter?
So So let me first say that I mean it's always good to start gradually. So one of the problems that or the challenges with going for even a walk, and of course with other exercise that most often than not we don't prepare the body for that. So even before I come to the walk, it's important that we prepare the body. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to do some stretching. So for example, you've decided to go for your walk every morning and you were just sleeping, some of you are sleeping in air conditions, you just woke up and you just washed your face, put on your canvas, and you are out there. It won't be a bad idea to just do some little stretching, hold some chair or some table, hold your ankle joint, bring it back a little bit, you know. Bring that the other side to do it for some time, maybe some 5 to 10 repetitions. Lean against the wall, try to push the wall as you stretch your legs to stretch your calf a little bit. I wish this was an in-person, I would have showed you what I'm talking about. So do some level of warm-up, stretching, I should say, to prepare the body, to acclimatize the body, to condition the body for the work they are going for. Because then the body is surprised. Hey, well, I was just sleeping. What is all this? What's happening? Hey, a lot of confusion. Your body was not prepared for that. You were prepared, but the body was not prepared. I get it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it's important that we always start gradually. Even if you're going to go for a jog, always start gradually, and keep increasing your pace. Now, one of the things that research will say, as people are growing older, we tend to discourage, for example, jogging or sprinting, running, not because it's really bad, but we are trying to cut down anything that will make you prone to a fall. Obviously, walking compared to running can make you fall easily compared to walking. Sorry. So we are saying that walking briskly can achieve a lot of things that running too can also achieve. But we are not thinking not just about the exercise, we're also thinking about your safety, as you are growing older, because as you are growing older, things are changing. Your bones are getting more petrified. When you fall, you are very much likely, or you can easily have a fracture, which will take forever to heal. So going for a brisk walk does a lot of things that going for a jog can do. But whatever you are doing, just start gradually and increase your pace after some time. And listen to your body. Sometimes, as you are walking, it gets to a time that you feel, okay, now I can move to the next step. Let me increase my pace a little bit, and you keep increasing it gradually, until you're there. And in terms of how long I should do the walk, don't listen to a talk like this and get fired up and tell I want to be like the Kenyans and I want to try to kill it. So tomorrow morning I'm going to go for a jog 1 hour there. As you are going, decide on the time yourself. Start like you're going to just do for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Don't the body likes to be pampered and likes to be kept part of the meeting, have a meeting with your body, discuss it. That I'm going to start with just 30 minutes and come. The guy that you met whilst you were going there is sweating and it seems he has been there for 2 hours. He started somewhere, he started small. But you saw him when you were starting. So you assume that I want to finish this guy too. Trouble will come. Okay, so forget about other people that you see either in the gym or other jogging. Don't look at them. Start gradual. If you are going to be 30 minutes, remember that you are going and you're coming. Don't do 30 minutes there because when you finish, you won't take a car and come. You walk again. So do 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. And then with time, increase it to 40 minutes, increase it to 1 hour. Whereas you'll be doing 2 hours, and you're like, oh wow, I did it so easily. So always measure your progress. It really helps you to plan the kind of stuff that you are doing, and you're able to manage to see how your body is going. When I started, after 20 minutes, I was panting all over. Now it's 30 minutes, it's 60 minutes, and I'm okay. It's telling that your body has grown, your body has acclimatized, and it's time for you to move to the next level.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Liudgar Daku says that one of the best kind of exercise to strengthen the core muscles is yoga, especially hatha yoga. It is preventive, but also can be a treatment for some conditions. However, for acute cases, physiotherapy should come first after the assessments by the physician or clinician. Thank
Thank,
you. So
thank
I'm
you.
going to allow some of those whose hands are up to ask the questions because the questions in the chat box keep piling, and I don't want to, keep the hands waiting since they were up before some of the questions. So we'll go. I have Bernard first. Bernard, Ejeopon, and then followed by Mohammed Abdul Raf, and then Pat, and then Elroy. So please unmute and ask your questions. Please make it short and brief since we have about 10 more minutes to go. Godfred, are they able to unmute themselves? Or I have to do it for them?
Doc, they've been asked to unmute.
So they can
Okay.
unmute.
All right. This is Pat.
Okay. Yes, Pat.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Sam, for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. So my question is, spondylosis, is it hereditary? Can it happen, run through a family?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doc, should we take a number of them?
Yes,
And
let's take another one just in case it runs around the same thing. So,
Okay.
Bernard, Mohammed, or Elroy, any of you who
Okay.
can.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm Mohammed Abdurrauf.
Yeah.
Please, my question is, you see, there is this massage that they do that you see that somebody will be lie down on the table and then they will press and you'll be hearing crack, 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 crack. Is it good for us or what do you think? And then is a headstand? Headstand. I don't know whether you know headstand that karate people do, the headstand. Is it good for our back pain? Headstand.
Headstand, okay. Okay.
So this is one of my karate people.
Okay. Maybe one more, then we
One more. Bernard, can you unmute, or Michael? Bernard or Michael?
Yes, I
Okay.
wasn't able to unmute before. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. This is really insightful. Just two quick questions. The first one is there any quick, easy way of forcing ourselves to sit upright? So before, at least for me, I managed to get a desk that can raise and high so you stand a little bit. But as soon as I sit back down, I find myself leaning into my computer all the time. I found this belt that apparently you're supposed to wear. It holds you upright. It didn't work. I found another thing. So I'm just asking, there's any quick way that I could do it myself that a sort of a reminder or force me to sit upright and have my back against the chair all the time. That would be very helpful. The second one is also maybe being a man and how ladies would always want to be cuddled throughout the night, almost like they want to lay on you as such. And this really popped in mind when you're talking about the sleep positions and being balanced. Almost every night, you unfortunately find yourself not being balanced because you would have to force yourself to lie on the back so someone can lie on your shoulder almost throughout the whole night. So I'm just asking if that should be changed or there's something that could be done about it in terms of balancing the body, especially in sleep. Thank you very much.
Hey, Bernard, I didn't know you were romantic like that too. Okay, I think we can. Yes, Elroy, last question and then
Hello.
we'll answer. Yes.
Oh, okay. This is Michael.
Michael, yes, sorry. I
All
saw
right.
Elroy.
Thank you for the insightful delivery. My question has to do with when you put up the slide that showed the firm back for seats that we should be sitting on. You mentioned you should have a firm back. Now, our car seats, I wonder how many car seats have a firm back. And so if you find yourself driving 20, 30 minutes into even 1 hour, how do you ensure your car seat has a firm back?
Okay. Good. Thank you so much, Elroy. So let me start from that one. So it is true that some of the car seats are just not good. I've had clients who have complained, about that. One of the quick things that will come to your head is that maybe, because in this part of the world, we usually buy, home use cars. So, the cars, by the time they come, it's just like when you buy a secondhand mattress, you can't obviously get the best out of it. But one of the things that usually helps is if you can keep a foam or a firm pillow between your back and the chair, your car seat, if you feel that your car seat is not supporting you enough. The whole idea is for you want to be firm and supported and comfortable, and that also I think ties in with one of the questions that Bernard asked, about how to sit, upright. One of the best things to do is to keep your chair very close to, or should I say, keep your tummy very close to your decks. Your chair should be able to fit under your deck such that your tummy is almost touching your decks. There's no room for you to now slouch or to even sit in a funny way. And for some people, that may not be possible. So you may need to maybe keep a pillow at the back there to really firm you up, to fill up the gap, the space there. So we're not leaving any chance. There's no gap between your tummy and the edge of the decks. So that's one of the ways to go about it. And it's the same for the car seat. I mean, the car seat, you are talking about the gap between you and the steering wheel. Of course, for cars, we are not expecting you to get very close, but we are saying that if you find yourself moving forward, it may help, and you may sometimes have to try, because there's no one fix, one size fix all. Keep different pillows at the back to see which one really is helping you to keep you firm. All right, so a few people have done that and it's helped them. There are some lumbar supports. Sometimes one of my clients brought one of them, and it was very helpful. Unfortunately, I think he got them from Amazon. I've checked now, I'm not even seeing them, but it was very solid. You could keep them. It had a certain gutter in the middle, and you keep them at your back. It fitted the curve in your back well, and it really gave you a very firm support. So that is something that if you can look for them online, it could support. That's for the driving. So for the sleeping posture, Bernard, as for this issue, we just need to be very careful about the way Dr. Mali is looking at me. If I go and say something right now, she will now start saying something, but I don't know whether it is the sleeping on us, it is throughout the night or maybe initially, but whatever be the case, you see, you, the guy that you are sleeping on your back, we did say that sleep on your back is good for you. It's one of the safest ways to do. So yes, somebody can sleep on my shoulder and my back is still supported. Are you getting me? So as it is, maybe you can start from tonight or whenever. Look at it as it is and see whether it can fit into all the things we spoke about. Look at the guy's posture as he's lying down, face up, and ladies' posture as she's lying down, on guy's shoulder. And let's see whether it will fit. I mean, we can push in any of the things we spoke about with the pillow support and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm sure that's something we can look into. I hope this helps. Talking about Bernard's question again, quick fix or way that we can help to sit straight. So I've seen a number of supports, of support. Some are worn, it makes your back firm and stuff like that. Now, I've also come across one that I find very, very appropriate. Unfortunately, the guy that brought it to me, I've been asking because a lot of patients I think will benefit from that, but he said his suppliers, you can't hear from them again. But this is how it works. I actually still have one myself. So it was a very small gadget that you wear it more like, not like how the ladies wear their bras, but you wear it such that the black thing, very portable thing, is at your back, and you can set a certain angle on it. So based on assessment that we do, we set the angle for you in the clinic. Now you wear it under your garment, your dress. Whenever you are falling below that angle, it starts vibrating and it prompts you to now straighten up. Now the advantage of that one over you wearing something rigid at your back is that, the body likes, like I said, to be I mean, you like things to be done gradually. So if you yourself constantly keep correcting your spine, it's more effective than something that you are wearing that is keeping you erect. As soon as you take off that thing, you're going to come back again. And for most lumbar support and most back support, that's a problem. When you wear them, it is good, you feel good, but as soon as you take them off, there's a problem. Okay, so so that gadget, unfortunately, I'm not getting them again, But having said all of that, one of the best ways to really work on certain postures and stuff is to work on your core. I spoke about that earlier on, and there are very simple exercises that we can teach you that will really help you to control that ability to really keep your back firm and rest out of your back. And they're not, initially they may be a bit difficult, but they're easy to do once you get hold on to them. Once you contact us, we can teach you and we can help you to move. And that is more long lasting. What lumbar corset and back support are doing is to mimic the job of what these muscles originally were supposed to do. So when you wear them, they are doing them, or they are doing the job. But when you take them off, you come back to ground zero. So rather, let's work on the muscles to make them go back to the original function, the original duty, and we are good to go. All right. Now, Mohammed talked about certain videos that we are seeing them all the time, cracking and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've seen them too. I mean, sometimes a bit disgusting, I must say. I think they're just, people use them as marketing strategy. I'm not sure why they do that, but they feel that once you do that, it means that, I don't know. One needs to be careful. You need to be properly trained to do this kind of stuff, I received a whole year of training to be able to do this. My physios that are working here have been well trained, so they're able to do that. You don't just get up to do that. You need to do a proper assessment to know whether it is indicated or not. You need to do a few checks before you can do them, especially the ones for the neck, because you can easily injure somebody. So I just feel that we are getting to a place where people are just learning things, by observation. You just see that, oh, they did this one and the sound came. So when the sound has come, is the best. No. In some countries, people have lost their licenses because of these things. Other professions have done. I'm not going to mention any name, but other professions have done certain things, and it's led to people being injured, and they've lost their license and stuff like that. So please, let's not get carried away by these social media videos. Yeah. Now, I don't know. I mean, nobody checks these things. They're just on there, and don't make social media your place to go when you want advice on serious stuff. I hear people say all kinds of stuff. I learned this from social media. I mean, there's not, if it doesn't work, you can't even go and arrest those. We don't even know where they are sometimes. It's like there are people who sell medication in buses when you're traveling. Long time ago, I sat in a bus to Kumasi. The guy came to sell some wild thing on the bus, and he talked about how it is good and stuff like that. When we got in the middle of the road somewhere, he said, okay, bye-bye you, and you got down and you left. I said, hey, if something goes wrong now, where are we going to find this man? He's gone. I guess. So let's be circumspect when it comes to social media. I mean, you can watch them, but let's at least go to a place that if something goes wrong, I can say that this is where I went to, this is where I learned it. They told me something has gone wrong. I can hold them responsible. Yeah. I'm not too sure about the headstand. I need to contact Dr. Margo. She's a karate expert, but I'm not sure what that is. Maybe so. I have no idea, at all about the headstand, what it is. I need education on that. Okay. Spondylosis, hereditary. So I have not seen any literature on that. That is not an appropriate answer because I can't say because I've not seen, it is not there. It may be. It is just like somebody asking me about arthritis. Is it hereditary or not? And today we're just having a conversation about it. So research showed that yes, you can have it in families and stuff like that. It's just that sometimes it may not necessarily be hereditary. Someone says, oh, my mom suffered the same thing. Even my grandmother suffered the same thing. It is not all of these things that I've said that means that it's hereditary. It may just be that coincidentally, the way your mother has been sitting like that, you've been watching her, so you too, you are doing the same thing. I get him. So it looks like it's a family line thing, but it's a certain habit that your mom did that you also do. And it's very normal. I mean, your son can start working like the way you work unknowingly. And you're like, hey, my wife was telling us that, hey, have you seen that your son is doing something that you've been doing? I was like, hey, I never taught him. Why is he doing that? But children learn, by observation, even more than, orally. So it may not necessarily be hereditary, but just that a certain habit, poor certain habit, certain things that we learned unknowingly from our parents, from our aunties and stuff like that, that will make us suffer the same thing that they suffered. And it is not hereditary, it's just that we learned it the wrong way. That's what I can say for now about it. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So unfortunately, I cannot finish all the questions. I'm trying to choose the last one and see if I can. Sam, can you be looking into the message and
Okay.
see whether you could give an answer for all three? So where I've reached is somebody is talking about when I sit or bend or stand for long, I feel at my lower back. What could the cause be? I feel pain at my lower back. So I think that is basically what we've talked about.
Yes.
And then the second is I have a curved spine or scoliosis. After I train, I get pain and it's worse the next day. I also wake up with the back pain. Why does this happen and what can I do?
So I mean, once there's a curve, what is happening literally at your back is that one group so you see, if you have the U, we have the U, the open side of the U and the closed side of the U. So the muscles on the closed side of the U are stretching, and the muscles on the open side are opening up. How I didn't tell you. Yeah, so once it is curved and the opening side is facing, let's say, the left side, it means the structures on the left side are kind of being compressed, the muscles are being compressed, and this side are being stretched. Originally, we're supposed to have all of them in the same length and the same stretch. But then you are starting your exercise, you are starting whatever you are doing already with a battle going on. One side being stretched as again, the other side being compressed. And that really is a disaster it's a recipe for disaster. Okay, so let's do something about it. We can even go to the extent of now teaching you ways to sleep to help bring it back. Because like I said, if, for example, it's the typical U-shaped scoliosis, all we need to do is to find out where the curve is going and now teach you to sleep on your side, keeping pillows on the closed side, and kind of that opens you up a little bit, right? And these are just ways to really fast track the corrective process. So it's good that you've identified that, yeah, there's scoliosis there, but that really explains a lot of the things that you may be going through. It's not straight, so then it's going to be a problem. I think that I see, please, what causes disc desiccation at L5S1 level, and what is neuroformina? Okay. Okay, let me read the question so that everybody can hear it. Please, what causes disc desiccation at L5 and S1 level? And what is a neuroforamina narrowing? When a cartilage wears off, is there something that can be done about it? Okay, so when you talk about the discs, remember that I talked about the thick gel in the middle, outer fibrous layer. Now, when there's pressure on it, like I spoke about, whether because of repetitive sitting or standing or whatever, there's a bulging and all of that. Now, that also comes in stages. So initially, it may just be a little bulge that is harmless, and then you don't even know about it, so you keep doing the same thing. The bulge keeps increasing. It can get to a level where it's putting a lot of pressure on a certain nerve, at that level. Now, the desiccation is in that spectrum. The last level on the spectrum is what we call disc sequestration. Now, this is when the thick gel in the middle now comes out. So there's an opening and the middle part, some of the gel comes out and let's say it drops in the body. So now the disc has become like a deflated balloon, and now the bones are now sitting on top of each other. So that's the advanced form of it. Now, all of this starts small, bulging, desiccation, whatever it is, degeneration is a process. It keeps going until the last stage where is sequestrated. All right. So once we see this on an MRI, usually an MRI will tell us this one. This won't be seen on an X-ray. An MRI will tell us this, and then we will know things to do to really help, reverse the process. Neuroforaminal narrowing. Remember, I talked about how the nerves, there are two gaps on the spine. I'm just going to go back here. There are two holes. We said that there was the first hole where the spinal cord itself is passing. So that's the central canal. And we can have narrowing of that. Okay, that's it. So you see this image here. Let's look at in the round circle, the circle, the image on your far right. The hole you see there is the central canal. That's where the spinal cord itself is passing. I said that the 33 bones form a canal that it passes. However, when you look at the image on your left, still in the circle, that hole there is not for the spinal cord, it's for the spinal nerves. And that also can be stenosed or can be narrowed. So this narrowing we are talking about is called it's a foramen, it's the neural foramen. It's not for the spinal cord, it's for the spinal nerves. And usually this is the kind of thing that will cause your sciatica, and it can be caused by some of the things we've spoken about earlier on. Cartilages take a very long time to be replaced. That's even if they were replaced. And we're talking about stuff like the knee and stuff like that. They can be worn out, and yes, there are food supplements and other things that can really help. But the good news is that, so when you take a typical joint, yes, the cartilages are lining the surface of the bones, and the other membranes and stuff like that. And there are muscles holding the whole joint together. So one of our best bets, even if we are not able to deal with the cartilages, of course, like I said, we are doing the food supplements and stuff to really help. We can toughen the muscles surrounding the knee joint. And when it is tough, or the muscles are tough, they minimize the pressure that you were supposed to get originally because the cartilages are out. All right, so that is very, very, very important. So I need to charge my laptop. But yeah, so that's what I can say about.
Okay. In fact, you have done more than enough, a yeoman's job. And we are almost 2 hours out. So we are going to stop here because we have gotten a whole lot of education and knowledge, and we are very grateful. As I said, you can re-listen to this talk over and over again so that you can learn. We have Sam, can you show your thing again just in case somebody hasn't? Yeah, so his number is there. You please give them a call. I can recommend them. I go there myself and they are very good. So please give them a call if you need to consult with them. The physio specialist there at Abilinkpe. Thank you very much. I hope you guys are going to keep your spine healthy, and because that's all you have till you go and meet your maker. So as we wrap up, just a few announcements. For Parent Professional Connect, those of you who are part of the Mission Pediatrics community, for Parent Professional Connect, sorry, we are going to the Eastern region for fun this June. It's not going to be virtual. We are doing a face-to-face fun family time at Albert's Haven. And so we are going to be circulating the registration link this time because we have to get transportation, get the place ready. It's a day's trip, but it's only those who register who can be catered for. So we're going to send our registration link if you want to join us this June for Parent Professional Connect at Albert's Haven, where we're going to have fun. Please register. And then, sorry, Godfred, you wanted to show Calm and Connect, eh? There's also a program that is running called Calm and Connect. This is a virtual program for parents who have children with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is a virtual course. It's a 7-session course being run by one of our facilitators, Christelle Dowuna, who is, yes, there's it. It's on Saturdays, 1 to 3 p.m. The first cohort is done, and we'll be starting the second cohort sometime in June, I believe, second week in June. So that's Christelle Owu here for you, ADHD parenting coach. She's a professional ADHD specialist, and she's going to coach you as a parent on how to handle your children when they're emotionally dysregulated, when they are doing, yeah, and you want to tear your hair out, how to keep calm and how to connect with your child. So that's it there. You can take a picture, and please invite anybody to register that you know is going to benefit from it. All right. Thank you very much. Sam, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. The messages have been very, very encouraging. Everybody has really learned a lot, and I hope those who need you will be calling you. So I thank you very much, and we'll be ending here.
Thank you so much once again for the opportunity. I'm so grateful. It's been wonderful, and I'm glad you've learned a thing or two. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye.